NASCAR Coast to Coast coming at you the week of July the 31st. As we wrap up the month, ARC Menard Series continues their back-to-back-to-back intense part of their schedule. We've got Isabella Robusto joining us, Toyota TRD driver, and of course for Venturini Motorsports, she's had quite a string of races. We're going to talk to her about her season, her strength, her recent strengths of success, and also what's ahead for the driver of the number 55. Plus, Cars Throwback Classic coming up this weekend for the Cars Tour, both the late model stocks and pro late models up at Hickory. Will let you know what you need to know about the big $50,000 to win late model stock race and $30,000 to win pro late model race this weekend, plus much, much more as we close the door on the month of July. NASCAR Coast to Coast here on MRN starts right now. Welcome into NASCAR Coast to Coast here on this July 31st, 2025. My name is Chris Wilner, as always, with the Motor Racing Network. And our special guest as we kick off this week's episode is the driver of the Venturini Motorsports number 55 Toyota, Isabella Robusto, who continues a hot summer stretch in the ARCA Menard Series, 6 straight top 10 finishes, and was the highest finishing female in a record of 6 last week at IRP with a top 5 of 4th. Isabella, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been quite the summer for you and this Venturini Motorsports team. What's clicked for you guys? I know the start of the year was probably something to forget with all those DNFs, but then the light switch went on and suddenly you guys are rocking and rolling.
Yeah, we definitely had a bit of a rocky start to the year, just a couple DNFs between some mechanical stuff and then me getting kind of wrapped up in some crashes out on track. But yeah, starting the summer stretch of races, we kind of sat down and came up with a game plan of how we were going to change things, how I kind of approached the weekend with my prep, how the team was kind of going to approach it a little bit different, and just kind of the roles we all took for the weekend as well changed a little. But yeah, I think all of the changes that we made over our kind of little break that we had there leading into summer, I feel like they're all positive. We've all run really well afterwards. We've been in the top 5 most of the races, so been competitive and definitely been a positive change for us.
Obviously, we know the Venturini name in ARCA is just synonymous with success, and I know that's going to come to the end at the end of the year with Nitro Motorsports coming in. But for you, you mentioned some of the changes in prep and things like that. As a race car driver, you're always kind of honing what you do to prepare for races and continue to learn as you grow. But what are some of the things maybe you worked on that and you changed a little bit that seemed to prove dividends here?
Yeah, I guess that I felt like I kind of struggled with the ARCA car at the start of the year was just kind of my racecraft. It's obviously very different than running a late model. And so how I've kind of learned the last couple of years to race and pass and do all of that changed a lot when I got into the big heavy stock cars where you especially have to use the air to kind of move someone. And so I worked with Blake Cook and Trevor Bain kind of week in and week out, just as my prep leading into the races, from watching film, in-car camera, whatever it might be, from like the trucks, Xfinity cars, and then also watching races, taking notes on the trends of the racetrack, just so we can kind of stay ahead on the changes that I need in the car to be able to be good. And lots of kind of iRacing with racecraft. That's the biggest thing. It's just getting me used to kind of racing with the air has been, I feel like, the biggest help.
Well, let's put a bow on Indy. What'd you think of IRP and kind of getting to kind of almost pull some slide jobs? I know a little dirt, I guess, craft you could throw in there if you really wanted to. But what was your overall impression of that place? And obviously a solid performance finishing in the top 5.
I thought IRP was a really fun track. I wish that we got to qualify. I feel like we could have qualified up front, probably in the top 5 pretty easily. And starting kind of near the back with how we kind of went with points there, made the first half of the race a little more challenging. But the goal was just to get through the field as quick as possible without killing the tires. Obviously, that track's pretty abrasive on them. So making sure I saved enough tire for the last half of the first stage and keeping the nose clean, just getting through the field. But yeah, I feel like we made really good progress. It was a super fun track. You could really run any lane that you wanted to, and it kind of just depended on what lane your car worked best on. So Yeah, for me, I thought it was a really good weekend. We came out fourth. I feel like I probably could have held on to third there. I lost it with two to go. Unfortunately, I messed up trying to get around one of the lap cars and just lost my little gap that I had between Butterbean and I. But yeah, overall, I think it was a pretty good weekend, and it definitely helps with the momentum kind of continuing from the last couple of weeks going into the rest of the summer.
It was impressive to watch, that's for sure. And I know folks that may be tuning into this program, I know we had you on last year. You have such an incredible story because it's been, I guess, a lot of this was supposed to happen in 2023. Unfortunately, you had that concussion in Hickory that kind of sidelined you for much of the year. Take us back to, did you ever think that a season like this in ARCA was going to happen after April of 2023 and all that you had to go through? Because that was, I'm sure, a long and grueling 7 months of kind of wondering kind of what was the future for you.
Yeah, that was definitely pretty hard. I didn't know, and Toyota really didn't know how long I was going to be kind of out of the car. Concussions are unfortunately the one thing that we don't know a lot about. And
Yeah.
so the timing of if it was going to be 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks ended up being almost 8. And so, yeah, it was a lot longer than we all planned. So it definitely kind of took a mental strain on me, not knowing if I was going to be able to get back in the car, and then obviously looking at the plan that we had in 2023 for me to run the majority of the ARCA season, and then for 24 I would run full time. Obviously, it was getting pushed farther and farther away as I wasn't able to get back into the car, and I'm just super thankful for Toyota sticking by me and helping me kind of get through the recovery side. And when 2024 came and we started the year in February, I was able to kick off my ARCA season finally in Phoenix and run a handful of races last year. And super thankful and excited we're finally able to run the full season this year. And I feel like it definitely helps running week in and week out in the same car. And it's shown kind of through the momentum that we've built the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And is it almost like this year you feel like you're making up for lost time, or have they been pretty methodical and kind of saying, hey, forget about, losing those 6, 7 months and let's continue on this plan? Because I can't imagine the itch to get back behind the wheel of a race car. And obviously this year you're like, okay, like this was all supposed to happen last year, so I got to make it happen this year.
Yeah, they obviously have kind of like a timetable laid out of where we want me to be, kind of in a year, 2 years, 3 years, kind of down the road. And we have our plan, and so far we've kind of hit all the marks that we wanted to by this time in the year. So it's not kind of pushing me to make mistakes just because I need to get those wins or I need to be top 3. It's still very much of, this is the first year I'm going to 95% of the tracks that we're going to, first time at intermediate at tracks like Dover with high banks or super speedways. And so it's definitely still a learning year. And so this is the year for me to make those mistakes when I'm racing or whatever it might be, and just learn to where for future races when I show up to the track, I'm up at the top of the leaderboard right out of the bat.
Well, it's been so far so good. Fifth in points here as we're 8 races through the ARCA Menards National kind of portion of the schedule. Let's also talk a little bit about too. I don't know. I think I told you this maybe back at Lime Rock, but I have a twin sister. You have a twin brother, and you got now. My sister had nothing to do with racing. She was a cheerleader. Absolutely did not want to touch a race car. Now, your brother, you guys raced against each other since you were like 5 years old, and you got to do it again for the first time in a while, 2 weeks ago in the GR Cup? How was that experience, and what's the sibling rivalry like these days?
I feel like the sibling rivalry has definitely gotten a little bit less than when we were kind of five
Yeah.
years old. So we raced against each other till we were 13. I feel like the competitiveness between the two of us was much higher when we were 13 racing against each other, because you had so much at stake. You had the bragging rights at stake. You had first dibs on the chores list. Like there was
Yeah.
behind it when we were younger, and now it's cool. It's been it was basically 5 years, 5.5 years since we had raced against each other, and 2 weeks ago, I got the opportunity to go and race in the GR Cup car, which is the series that he runs full time. And yeah, it was super cool to kind of get back into that car. I ran the first race that they ever had in it 3.5 years ago, and to be able to jump back in and go race, especially against him, was super cool and fun. And I made sure to make fun of him and make sure he knew that I was within a couple tenths of him for my first time back in the car in a long time. But yeah, it was super cool. We ended up finishing actually right next to each other both days. So it was a cool weekend, definitely, to get back out there, and really fun to get to race with him again. But I don't think the rivalry was quite as intense as it was when we were 13 and 14 years old.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As you get older, you kind of grow close together and it's a little less of that competition. But okay, you mentioned you finished next to each other. Who beat who?
Well, the first day, he beat me both days.
Oh,
The
okay.
first
I was wondering why
day,
you left that out of the the answer.
the first day I did, he passed me on the last lap. I kind of helped him get by a little bit, but
Okay.
yeah, it was still super cool to kind of finish right near each other. And yeah, I made sure to kind of rub it in his face and make sure he knew I was right on his tail the whole weekend.
What does he think about you being in the Arkham Menard series and kind of your trajectory? Is he trying to maybe model his career after that? Does he want to stick more road racing or kind of what's his racing look like?
Yeah, he really enjoys the road course side of things, the sports cars, and um, I think that it's really good kind of path that he's on right now, especially racing in the Toyota GR Cup Series. It's got a ton of competition, and it's super competitive and kind of great to learn that type of car and all those types of tracks. And yeah, I think he he's happy for me and kind of my path that I have, but he kind of wants to go the other direction towards sports cars.
Gotcha. Yeah, and there's a lot of opportunities in that realm as well as I do a little bit on the IMSA side too. In addition to all the racing you're doing and trying to, beat your brother every once in a while, and then of course racing the Arkham Menard series full time, you're still going after your aerospace engineering degree. And I know you and I talked at Lime Rock. You had a physics test that day, which you said you'd passed last week at IRP. I know you're on summer vacation, but how the heck do you balance all that? And what is kind of the plan with that? Is that something just to have in your back pocket, or kind of what was the motivation behind it?
Time management is probably the biggest part of why I'm able to kind of do both. But yeah, I just know how much time I need to spend on racing, and that's obviously the number one priority for me. And so I know what time I can kind of turn off the racing switch and turn on the school kind of full focus, because I'm going to be 100% on whichever it is. So I'm very there's a lot of time management to kind of when I work on school, when I'm on racing, and kind of focusing 100% on that. And yeah, I just have always loved math and school growing up, and I wanted to have a college degree just to have one as well. And I feel like education is a really important thing. And so for me, I always loved engineering and designing things, and especially like 3D printing and CAD and all of that. And I felt like aerospace kind of covered a little bit of all, and it was really good for kind of the racing side, especially working with the engineers week in and week out on the simulators at the shop, whatever it might be. And so I feel like it just helps kind of with the terminology with them, but also it's just something that I want to have as a college degree too.
That's awesome. And you're already a lot smarter than me. I still do math on my fingers. You're not going to hold that against me, are you?
Oh, no.
All right, good. Good. That's awesome. What else was I going to ask you? Oh yeah, so you grew up in Fort Mill, South Carolina as well. What was life like? And I also read that you were a high school football kicker. Is that correct? How the heck did you do that?
Actually, we were out in PE one day, like the football lesson or whatever it might be. And so we were out there just kicking footballs. And one of the coaches for the team was actually one of the PE teachers. And I was kicking some field goals and made it a whole lot farther than all the guys. So he wanted me to be on the team, and I went and did it for a year. But I learned very quickly that the boys kept growing and getting a lot bigger and stronger. and I kind of stayed about the same size. So when I did get tackled,
Oh
it hurt.
no.
So I decided that was not the path for me, and I liked being kind of in a race car. But yeah, it was just super cool to kind of do some different things through high school and middle school, from track and field to football, and yeah, I felt it just helped with the physical aspects for racing too, as well, just making sure that I was ready physically for the cars.
Man, that's like something out of a movie. I feel like, get plucked out of the gym class and suddenly you're a star on the football team. That's awesome. How far did you kick, by the way?
It was about 43 yards
Wow.
was my farthest one. So
There could be some NFL teams that could be needing a kicker this fall. We'll have to see. But hey, before we let you go, let's get a little preview of Iowa, the Atlas 150 coming up this weekend. You can hear that on the Motor Racing Network. It's a kind of a tricky racetrack. It's a fast short track. Sometimes I almost think it's not a short track, but it technically is one. What is the expectations there, and what have you learned about that place just kind of in your prep?
expectations is to finish top five, kind of be at least top three speed wise, and just kind of let the race play out from there. But yeah, it seems like a really fun track. I've done a pretty good amount of sim for it, and watching film, it like you said, it seems like it shouldn't be a short track, but it is. So it seems like it's gonna be really fast, and I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed Dover and last week at IRP, and I feel like it's kind of a mix if you put the two together speed wise, from Dover, and then kind of the raciness that IRP had. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it this weekend. I think we're going to have a really fast Mobile One Toyota Camry, and the Venerini crews got me all dialed in for when practice time comes.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, drivers feed off momentum, and you've got all of it in the world, that's for sure, with 6 straight top 10 finishes. Best of luck this weekend. Oh, by the way, how excited are you to have Jade Avedissian join the team as well for a couple races? Seems like the next wave is starting to come up, and I know you've known Jade for a little bit.
Yeah, I've gotten to know her over the last couple of years, just through the Toyota development program, and it's super cool for them to kind of bring in new drivers. And I think she's going to do 2 races this year, and who knows kind of how it'll look going forward for the next year when everything kind of switches over to the nitro world. But yeah, it's super exciting. Hopefully, I can give her some tips, and we'll see each other out on the track.
Love it. Girl power joining forces at Venturini Motorsports. Well, Isabella, best of luck this weekend at Iowa and, of course, the rest of the year. And looking forward to talking to you as the season progresses.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Isabella Robusto, driver of the 55 Venturini Motorsports Toyota this weekend. The Mobile One colors on that Toyota. She tackles Iowa Speedway coming up this weekend. Lots more to come, including some big news and notes, items in the world of regional racing, and, of course, your short track calendar for this weekend. That's all next here on NASCAR Coast to Coast on the Motor Racing Network.
3, 2, 1, start your engine!
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi.
Tell them we got it.
Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory.
Go, baby!
The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on MRN. Appreciate Isabella Robusto joining us again from the Venturini Motorsports camp as they tackle Iowa Speedway coming up this weekend. Speaking of, let's go back because ARCA Menard Series is in that big old summer stretch, back-to-back-to-back races, and the midway point of that was IRP this past weekend. Of course, you could heard that on the Motor Racing Network. Yours truly was sweating up a storm down there on pit road. It was hot. And the action on the racetrack was just as hot as well, as Brendan Butterbean Queen and Brent Cruz duked it out once again. It was kind of a tale of two different races. You had Butterbean that was setting sail, looking like going to be walking the dog for an easy win for his first short track win of the season and for his 5th of the year. But boy, that halfway break at lap 75, things changed. Butterbean's car went the complete opposite direction, and Brent Cruz stormed through the field and led the bulk of that second half of the race to grab his first IRP win for Joe Gibbs Racing and his 3rd of the season. So Brent Cruz, the Cruz missile, got it done. Isabella Robusto, you just heard from, finished top 5 yet again with a 4th place finish, 6 straight top 10s for her coming up through the spring and the summer. And in the points championship, Brendan Butterbean Queen is still 26 over Lawless Allen, who had a solid top 5 finish as well. Isaac Kitzmiller, boy, that East Series championship, because again, it was a combo event. 14 points over Tyler Reif, and they only have 2 races to go beginning this weekend at Iowa. So the East Series title could come down to the series finale in a few more weeks. Some other winners over the weekend. Cole Butcher, congratulations to him, racing in Indiana during NASCAR weekend up at Anderson Speedway, captured his second Redbud 400, one of the super late model crown jewels over the course of the year. Carson Hocevar was a late entry for that race. Unfortunately, had some mechanical issues in that one. The NASCAR Canada Series was in action with 19-year-old Connor Bell winning at Klabugi Motorsports Park, and I hope I said that correct, but either way, congratulations to Connor Bell. And Brexton Bush and Kyle Busch continued to tear up Cookout Summer Shootout just down the road from us at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Cookout Summer Shootout is over after, 8-9 weeks of racing throughout the spring and summer, and it was win number 7 for Brexton, got him the championship. Kyle Busch got his 7th win as well in the Masters division, and shout out to SVG. Shane Van Gisbergen, first oval win, comes in the legend car out there at the quarter mile at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Some news and notes over the week that you may have missed. 4-time NASCAR Euro Series champion Alan Day will compete for Sam Hunt Racing starting next month at Portland International Raceway. Of course, Alan Day has been a force anytime he's been a road racing car. He ran for Venturini at Lime Rock Park in the ARCA Menard Series. Nearly won that race if it wasn't for a pit road penalty, and we'll see if he can have the success or the run of success continue at Xfinity level at Portland coming up next month. Venturini Motorsports adding Jade Avedissian to the Toyota lineup, or one of the Toyota racers to their lineup for a couple of ARCA Menard Series races this year. First at DuQuoin on the dirt, which where she comes from. Of course, she's a former Extreme Outlaw Midget Series winner. She's made the Chili Bowl as well and has won a lot of races under the Toyota banner for the dirt side of things, now transitioning to the late model and the pavement side of things. We'll see her go at DuQuoin. And then, of course, the Las Vegas Bull Ring as well as her second scheduled race out there, her first pavement start in the ARCA Menard Series West Ring coming up in October. Chris Wright also signed a multi-race deal as well over the week. Of course, he had parted ways with Our Motorsports in the Xfinity side. He has now picked up several races with Venturini. He's going to run a 4th car actually this weekend at Iowa Speedway. Also worth noting, Tri-County Speedway. If you're a Luke Combs fan, Tri-County, Luke Combs, not sure how they mix. Well, they do in a music video because Luke Combs just released his new single, Back in the Saddle, and it features Tri-County Speedway, late model stocks, and yes, Dale Earnhardt Jr. makes an appearance as well as the driver of that late model, and even a Richard Petty sighting in the music video as well. So worth noting that a little short track racing and country music kind of did a little combo this past week. You can go check that out, I'm sure, on YouTube as well. Well, some previews for this weekend. We've got a lot of racing as, again, the calendar shifts gears to August and we start to hit the end of the summer just as quickly as it began. Of course, the ARCA Menard Series and ARCA East Series combo event as they continue their season at Iowa Speedway for the Atlas 150. You can hear that race right here on MRN at 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And again, it's the penultimate race for the East Series. So 2 more to go. Isaac Kitzmiller, the 16-year-old phenom with a 14-point lead over Tyler Reif in his first full season in the East category. But they're going to have to go through the Pinnacle Racing Group, of course, with Brendan Butterbean Queen trying to rebound after that disappointment at IRP. And then Brent Cruz is back for Joe Gibbs Racing as he looks to go back-to-back in that 18 Toyota as well. Both cars are going to be very strong. I would assume the race is going to come down between both of those races. Worth noting that Chris Wright, of course, is back in that 4th Venturini car, and Eloy Falcon rejoins Rev Racing as the second car to LeVar Scott. This week, also, late model star Trevor Ward will get another return in the ARCA Menard Series season. So again, Iowa Speedway kicking off a busy weekend for NASCAR in Corn Country starting Friday at 7 p.m. Cars Tour. Big one this weekend, the $30,000 win pro late model and $50,000 to win late model stock Throwback Classic is this Saturday at Hickory Motor Speedway. I know they have a huge car count expected this weekend. I've heard upwards of 41, 42 late model stocks going to go for 30 starting spots on Saturday night, meaning the schedule is going to change for the Cars Tour as well. Typically, it's a one-day show. Not anymore. Friday, they're going to do qualifying and then a last chance showdown race, much like a B main in a sprint car or midget world, is going to run on Saturday as well to dwindle the field down to 30. So there will be several good contenders going home. We know Keelan Harvick is going to be in the field for the Pro Late models. And of course, there's also tons of throwback schemes as well. That's going to be really exciting for you to kind of study up on. Star-studded field, Lane Riggs is going to join us in the Cars Tour as well this weekend. Trevor Ward, Caden Honeycutt's running not one but both races as well, and a lot of others, including your perennial favorites, Connor Hall and Trayton Lapsevich, as well as Lane and Lewis. So lots going on at Hickory Motor Speedway. If you're in the area, go check it out. Taking all the throwbacks as well. Isaac Kitzmiller's throwing it back to Bubba Wallace's 76 late model. You got Keelan Harvick, I mentioned, got the John Paul Linville special. Brody Monahan doing Steve Park's old Wheelin' 31, as well as there's a Rusty Wallace Miller Lite special. There's Alan Kowicki, lots more. And by the way, you can vote on those as well. There's a $1,000 prize to the best throwback scheme of the weekend. You can go to flowracing.com as well as Flow Racing's Facebook page to vote on your favorite. I think voting closes coming up on Friday. Some other events over the weekend that you may want to tune into. Thursday, the Squire Cup in honor of Ken Squire at Thunder Road in Barrie, Vermont. Napa SK 5K at Stafford Speedway on Friday night. And then Saturday, all the racing you can muster between the Modified 150 at Riverhead, Super Twin 40s at Owasso, weekly racing for the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series at Berlin, Jennerstown, Langley, Bowman Gray back in action as well. They had some drama with Burt Myers last week. We'll have to get into that and see what shakes up this week. They've got the Modified 100 coming up this Saturday night as well. And we also want to extend our well wishes to Stuart Friesen, of course, injured in that horrific modified race over the weekend last week. As Stewie gets on the road to recovery, we wish him the best, and we'll have to wait and see what happens with him as far as the NASCAR racing is concerned. MRN Racing this weekend, of course, is your home as we kind of hit our summer stretch as well. Started with IRP last week for the trucks. It continues out in the Midwest at Iowa this week. You heard it earlier, Friday night, 7 p.m. We'll have the ARCA Menard Series and ARCA East Atlas 150. And then Saturday, doubleheader at Cup Series pole qualifying and practice at 1:30 Eastern, followed by the Hy-Vee Parks 250 at Hy-Vee Perks 250 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And that all leads into NASCAR Live Race Day, getting you set at 2:30 Eastern Sunday for the Iowa Corn 350 powered by ethanol for the NASCAR Cup Series. And I heard the temperatures are not going to be as hot. Thank goodness it won't be a steamy one out there in Iowa. So lots of racing coming your way. Enjoy your racing weekend wherever you may be. Go visit your local short track if you have the ability to. We want to thank Isabella Robusto for being our guest this week. Best of luck to her in Iowa. For our producer, Pat Jaggers, my name is Chris Wilner. Thank you for tuning in to NASCAR Coast to Coast this week. Enjoy your weekend of racing. We'll see you next time.